Okay, board members, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you guys are ready for the work session today, appreciate you coming in today and letting us share some information with you. Have several, as you know, work session is for information items. So we have 3 out of the curriculum instruction division. So we're going to go through those first. Arts proficiency endorsement, presented by Sheena Creeds and Larry Chappell. Career and Technical Education and Business Advisory Council report, which is an annual report, which is presented by David Cross. And then Ashley Barr will present our 25-26 kindergarten registration plan that is soon to be implemented as we head through February and get into March. So we'll start, and I'll let you guys go follow that order, and then I'll finish up board members with some things from the superintendent's office. So Sheena and Larry, if you come forward.
I'm usually the person who drives, so I can drive myself. Good afternoon. Larry and I are excited to be here today to bring to you the Arts Proficiency Diploma endorsement. This is something new that we learned about. I think it came into existence in July, but they didn't start talking to us about it probably 3 or 4 months ago. It took a little bit of work to get it off of the ground. It is to recognize high school students who are really focused on cultural arts and giving them that diploma endorsement to show to institutes of higher education. To earn it, the students must complete at least 40 hours of extracurricular arts activities. It has to be completely outside of the classroom, and they have to take 4 arts courses, any of the arts courses that follow the standard course of study that have an unweighted GPA of 3.0 in each course. So they're going to score a B or earn a B or higher in each course. And in addition to that coursework, again, they have to complete 40 hours of arts-related activities. Dr. Chappell is going to talk a little bit more about what those activities look like and how we're going to track them.
So it's good to see you, always. As Sheena said, we have students would need at least 40 hours of extracurricular arts activities outside of the classroom. And so to ensure that we had a variety of appropriate and meaningful activities, we looked at other districts, and we also pulled together a group of middle and high school teachers to get their input on what those activities might look like. I mean, they're the experts in that field, and so we what you see tonight is the result of our homework and the meeting with those teachers. So you'll notice that it's divided into performing arts and visual arts. And so within those 2 categories, all of our cultural arts would fit into that. So like things for performing arts might be auditions, rehearsals, volunteering, or concerts. Visual arts could be competitions, community-based activities, projects, or art shows. And we go into, there's more detail in the actual document. All the activities have to be documented on a approved Randolph County form, of which we have an example there of what we would propose to use. And so then the art or the culture, the student's teacher and the counselor would be responsible for making sure, like the art teacher would, the arts teacher would take a look at it just to make sure, hey, that kind of fits. And we certainly want the counselors to know kind of where they are in that process. So state board policy GRAD 007 requires the local board of education to approve a list of eligible activities. And so our recommendations are on the list that you have tonight for your review. And the the endorsement. It's a great way for our students to, you know, to show their, to show their hard work and their dedication, you know, to the classes and to their, in some cases, their career. So with that, if you have any questions.
For the activities from grades 9 and 12, is it accumulation of
It is
extracurricular activities?
accumulation. They're gonna allow students this year to kind of go backward.
Uh-huh.
So you can go back to 9th grade and come with your 40 hours forward, but then starting next year, it'll be things that you're earning from that point forward.
So where would this form stay at for, say, for those 4 years?
We've had some conversation, the teachers, when I met with some of the teachers, we talked about, I actually compared it to Dr. Cross's career development plan, like having this document, if it was a Google Doc, that, you know, the teachers initial and each year, because technically I might switch schools or I might switch districts, those types of things. As we've met with other districts and been to district arts leader PLCs, the form that DPI gave us, essentially most people are staying with that, so I think it would be uniform.
Okay.
Maybe not to the T, but across districts. But it is my hope we can put that into the Google Drive somewhere where it can live and travel with the student.
And board members, Sheena and Larry are bringing this tonight. We will bring it back at the next board meeting for a recommendation for approval. We just wanted to get this to you. It's something new. We wanted you to see it and not see it and approve it on the same night. If be asked to deal with recommendations. So we'll bring this back as an item in the March board meeting as well. And if we have any revisions to the process, we'll point those out at this point, at that point. Thank you, Larry. Sheena. All right, Dr. Cross.
All right, good afternoon, board, leadership team. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our Business Advisory Council here, provide the annual report. So in line with North Carolina General Statute 115C-170, pretty much says that we're to meet as a council twice a year. This group is a critical group to how we do CTE. They really do a great job of advising us on our two-year strategic plan. Dr. Danny, he sits on the board. I serve as acting secretary. We also have members like Dr. Ardelin, who is our community college president, and then also other industry leaders. We have peer development coordinators, CTE teachers. I think our group's up to about 17 members. The board recently appointed Kevin Franklin, president of the EDC, as our board chair. So we're really trying to align with this economic growth, how we best make sure our CTE programs and the way we do our workforce roadmap best prepares kids to enter our current jobs and how we build our pathways. So we take a lot of their advice. So in December, we just met. We went through Providence Grove High School. We toured the CTE programs. We asked for a lot of feedback just to make sure, you know, the council feels good with the way that we are moving forward with our CTE initiatives. Any questions, thoughts?
Does Asheboro Randolph Chamber of Commerce usually have someone?
They typically do. We had, well, I'm gonna take it back. So they just transitioned leadership. I think Amy Rudisell was previously on our board, and we have not filled that spot. So like I've met the chamber president a couple of months ago, but we have not refilled that seat. But we are looking to expand 3 new industry folks to our board.
And they went several months with, I don't really know who was in the office because they had the change and multiple people left. I don't remember how many. I'm not sure if they didn't go a window of time without any staff, the chamber, when the president left. And then between filling that and then some other movement from people to other jobs.
Linda Brown, she sat on that seat until she left and went to RCC. Linda Brown, yeah, she was in that seat and then she transitioned to RCC.
But we'll try to get that tightened up now that they've got some stability with their leadership.
Yes, sir.
Could we come to one of those meetings?
Oh, absolutely. So like the planning process, we'll have it in the spring, and so I'll get with Kevin Franklin, we'll kind of plan the agenda, and I'll push it out to the board, make sure everybody feels good with it. But we have covered all of the high schools at this point. We've got a chance to tour all the CTE programs, so we're most likely going to have it at a community partner group or an industry partner to tour one of the facilities. So yeah, I can absolutely invite you. questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, David. Okay, Ashley Barr will come with the kindergarten registration. I cannot believe we're here again, but here we are. Once you get out of the month of September, the school year is over, and that's what I used to say as a principal. It was downhill from there, rolling fast. Not downhill in the negative, but downhill going fast. So here we are, Ashley. We might as well do 2 years of kindergarten registration this time and get ahead, right? Okay.
Well, you stole my opening line, which was, I can't believe we're here. But it is almost time to welcome the class of 2038 into our buildings. So we will begin our registration season with a kickoff on Tuesday, March 11th from 5 to 7 p.m. We do this in conjunction, we align that date with Asheboro City, so that if we get any cross kiddos, we send them where they need to go. Last year, we did a couple of new things, and we continued those this year. We have a billboard at the CrossFit building in Asheboro to advertise it. We also advertised through some community partners, the public library, communities and schools, and the Partnership for Children, some of those organizations that we know get lots of families in and out to help us reach some more people. Amber Ward also did a press release for us to the local media. And then our key date for advertisement is February 17th. So by February 17th, Ms. Ward will have everything posted on all of our websites and all of our district and school Facebook accounts. We are including middle and high schools so that we get those families also. The schools by the 17th will post those flyers also. They will distribute the flyers to go home, and they will post to their marquees. Principals will also do an announcement by phone in February and March, and then a message in their newsletter in February and March as well. And then once we are finished with that big kickoff, it will of course be ongoing until day one. Any questions?
So one of the things, Ashley, that comes up all the time is, what if I can't make March 11 from 5 to 7? And that is the kickoff, but then, you know, if you run into anybody that's trying to get their child registered, we're ready to take them, so send them to us. And if for some reason they don't know what school they need to go to register, schools are ready to register once March 11 comes and goes. I think the kindergarten registration is always a challenge from many areas, on many fronts, particularly allotments of teachers. And so we have a way we deal with that, but it winds up being a little bit of an unknown for a while. So if you run into anybody listening today, they can't come to March 11, that doesn't mean they gotta wait all summer to register. They can come March 12th, we'll register them at the school, and that's where they register. They don't register here, they go to their school.
Correct, and Ms. Ward made an additional flyer for us this year, so we have the flyer that advertises the event, and then one that will be available after that tells them that it's ongoing. So we did pick up almost just a little bit over 60% of our total kindergarten enrollment last year at registration. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, board members, I'm gonna go to the podium just a second for our discussion item or the larger amount of our time. But I wanted to point out before I did, when you see your schedule of events that I give you each month, we now have 3 new dates. They've set the date for May 29 for the presentation, the formal presentation of the budget, which is what was presented January 13. That'll be at the courthouse. The commissioners are back at the courthouse. It's been out of there for a while because they've been putting the elevator and some other things in. And then the public hearing on the county budget now is June 9, and the adoption of the county budget is June 16. So those are 3 new dates. That would be item 5, 8, and 9 are the new dates in your list. Okay, so board members, the bigger, probably more time-consuming item for work session today is what's entitled Update on Phase 1 of the Growth Plan for Randolph County School System. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to give you all a copy of the Phase 1 document so you're looking at what I'm talking to, or speaking to. I guess I didn't do my homework because it's not posted up there. I don't know if you can we post it? Do you have a? Yeah, if we can post up there for everybody in the room to see, so that'd be great. I don't know how I can do it. I didn't think about sending it electronically today, so. So I just want to point out a couple things about the document you have, just as a point of reference before we get started. The document you have really started on November 20, 2023. On November 20, 2023, a growth presentation was done in our work session. And it was a growth presentation, just to give a little reference. What was in that presentation, and I felt like at that time it was time to kind of break the ice on what was going on. Toyota had announced and some other things. I presented seven expansions in that were going on in the county. At that time, Toyota announced 5,100 jobs, Energizer expanded by 143, Technomarket expanded by 220, Sumitomo Forestry announced 129 jobs, that was new. It should be open by now, it was originally scheduled for late 2024. Axiom Packaging, that both of those are in Archdale, had opened with 129 jobs. Wolfspeed had announced they would be bringing in 1,800 jobs, and Benfast in southern Chatham County was going to open with 7,500 jobs. So I just really thought that, back in that time, I thought it was time to, let's go ahead and break the ice and get out there, what's going on for people who don't know. And so right there, it was 15,021 jobs that we were projecting, just on those companies alone. And I didn't go canvass the whole place, I just went and had some research on about, like I say, 7 of these, because they were hitting the radar pretty hard. So the other thing that I remembered is, years ago, I went to the BMW plant in South Carolina with the county commissioners. This was about my 3rd year. We went down and asked if I would go with them, and I did. And I remember riding into the BMW plant, and I was getting lost because there was so much stuff around, and the plant was over here, and what I was seeing was the suppliers. All the suppliers that were there that, make this or that BMW uses. So I was real curious, and I researched that, and Kevin Franklin helped me a lot with the EDC. I was on his board for a while and really appreciate all the work he does. And so I just said, okay, Kevin, we got anything on suppliers and retail jobs? And at that time, he told me 2,500 supplier retail jobs for Toyota, another 3,500 come with Wolfspeed. So now you add up, there's 6,000 more jobs. So what we kind of got into with that presentation was, one thing I've said many times since that day is it's a risk to buy land now, and it's a risk not to buy land. We talked about reviewing the fill rate of schools, our current schools, and doing a student assignment study. That needed to happen. And we also talked about identifying places for new schools as well. So I give you that. We also talked about something that's not come up in a while. We came up with eventually needing a student assignment department. If the growth happens, like they're saying, 15,000 jobs and another 6,000 with suppliers and retail, if that growth happens, then, right now we handle student assignment with through Student Services Department, and they handle it very well. But if the numbers go like they are, we're going to need some attention in that area. So I say that because that was originally where the discussion started. Again, that was on November 20, 2023. So it was about February 7, 2024, there was a meeting in my office, and it was with the chair and vice chair of the county commissioners, chair and vice chair of the board, and at that point, the interim county manager and finance officer, Will Massey. So at that time, we talked about, what this looked like, what are we gonna start doing, and I talked about putting a plan together, which is what you're holding, phase 1. Talked about bringing that to the board at a work session, which was this very work session last year, it was February 12th. And very clear it was information. I wanted the board to see it. And then I wanted to walk away from it, let you talk about it, and call me, whatever you needed to do. And even in that meeting on February 7th, we talked about that if things were okay, And one of a lot of things, and I would bring it back to the board in March, which I did on March 18 for action by the board. And if it went past there, then I said I would be at the commissioner meeting in April with it for action by the commissioners. And all that played out. And everybody, Mr. Cook, Ms. Farlow were in the meeting, I'm not gonna speak for you, but there was support for that. And so, you know, one of the things that I was saying,
Dr. Gainey, wasn't that the meeting where the Asheboro, where actually you were kind of surprised invitation, not knowing what it was when you went?
that had happened the week before.
That happened the week
January 3rd.
before.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped Piggy to roll in, if you can elaborate on that, I mean, or I can help you when you, I
Well,
remember it
there
well.
was an announcement, they received money from the state and then a match from the county to renovate South Asheboro Middle School. And so I was invited to that, and that was a big day for them. So they got 30 million from the state and another, I don't know if it was 5 or 8 million match. I first heard 5, then I heard 8. But that was news to me, I didn't know anything about that. You know, we're all coming off, they're coming off redoing Asheboro High School. We're coming off opening, what is this, the 4th year? So we were in year 3 of opening Trinity Middle. So that's where the February 7 meeting came after that, because now, again, I'd done a growth presentation, so, and it got picked up on December 20, by the way, because I was on the morning news on Fox 8 on December 20. I think that was the day we got out for the holidays. So growth was out there. We got it out there, and it was important to get out there as things were ratcheting up. And so a lot of things happened after that, been a lot of conversations.
I don't want to interrupt, but I do want to mention one more thing. It's important for that day. It's very important. We were sitting in that office. I'm not trying to, but I'm trying to help you things because it's very important. We were led to believe that, base needs grant.
Needs-based grant.
Huh?
A needs-based grant.
Needs-based grant.
Yeah.
Okay, had just happened for Asheboro. So during that meeting with more Darryl Fry than anybody, but
You talking about the February 7th meeting?
yes, February 7th meeting, that had just happened. And we were encouraged to, Need and Liberty, to go for a grant like that. That's kind of where the Liberty really got strong at that point, because the superintendent that was in place then was supposed to come, and they were going to arrange it for her to tour the place with you. You were going to take her there. And then she got beat in the primary, and boom, it all went away, basically. And nothing else was, and we got turned. But anyway,
But
that came out then too, but they led us to believe in that meeting. And Dr. Gainey, what I really remember, he come on strong at that meeting. You did a good job, remember, I mean, he
Yes.
come up,
Yes.
and, because basically and I'm not sugarcoating it, okay, I'm just telling you like it happened. I felt like we were sitting in a meeting, like Mr. Massey come on to us like, well, guys, you hadn't asked for anything, you know what, like defending Asheboro on the situation. Well, the fact is that we just spent all that money, and he knew Asheboro had overspent to the tune of 34 million basically on their school. And just like we were sitting there thinking, you really hate to go to the well when somebody's just about drained the well, But and he explained himself. He said, well, you know what, sir? I'm not one to come back hitting you up for money when somebody's you've had to spend that much, which I thought was courteous and the way to do it. But then I remember the reply, well, you hadn't asked for anything, it kind of come back like we were in the wrong at that day. But anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, to your point, that was the very reason why the November 20 presentation was done. So, board members, and I think it was 15 million, I think Mr. Cook was over on their project. I think it started out about the same amount of money as we were going to spend on Trinity Middle. But, I'm not oblivious to where we are. I'm not oblivious to what this county believes in. I'm not oblivious to the great management that's been done by the county commissioners over the years here, as far as managing debt. So, But I also believe that if I sat here as superintendent and didn't bring up the growth issues, I probably wasn't doing my job. So I kind of, in many ways, I thought maybe November 2023 was a late entry into the picture for us. But it felt right. We were halfway through year 3 of a brand new school, and quite frankly, the needs-based grant that was applied for by them, I'm glad they got it, but we didn't apply for it because the way Dale and I had read it is you had to have a plan. We couldn't figure out, and we learned later, you can apply for that without, I knew we had a window of time to break ground if you get it. You got a window of time to break ground once you get it, but, and it's what, 18 months, Dale, is that right, or is it 12 months? I can't remember. It may be 12, 24 months, okay. But we didn't have a plan. We didn't have a school, we didn't have a plan out there, and I couldn't wrap my head around how do you bid out something if you don't know you got the money coming from the state. But anyways, I also didn't, there was, like I said, it was an $8 or $5 million match that came from the county.
But you're strictly talking about Liberty.
No, I'm getting
At this
there.
point. Is that what you're talking about?
No, well, that's why we hadn't gone there after a grant, because we had, two things. We asked them for money and within 3 years of building a new school,
Right.
And also, we learned more about the grant. We've also since learned that the county can only get one grant every 4 years. We applied for the grant. When we were moving for Liberty this summer, we applied for the grant in August and got turned down. We learned that the grant can only go to a county one time in 4 years, so we can't do that. So, moving through this, a lot of things have happened. I spoke to a lot of groups, spoke to the media many times. It's out there. It's out there. So where are we right now with phase 1? Where are we really with the phase 1 of the plan? We found land for Liberty. All of you were involved, Mr. Cutler, everybody was involved. We found Liberty's land, and we took it to the commissioners. What was it, September 3rd? Was that night of our, what was the night of our board, our teacher of the year meeting? Third. It didn't go through that night. There was some confusion. So we brought it back to 7th, and the commissioners approved the land, provided we did an appraisal. We did the appraisal came back. And so we're good there. So this is what we've done so far on phase 1 of the plan. We have found land for Liberty. But before that, we did identify a realtor, and realtor's been working, Dale, we've been working for how many months now on land for Ramon High School? Probably 5 months, if not longer. We have selected an architect, Smith Senate, and we brought that to you December 9, who we had selected from the RFQ process. And then we're any day now, if you look through our phase 1 plan, the things that we can say we've got going is we did approve the land contingent on the environmental study, which is underway right now at Liberty. We have an RFP getting ready to be posted for demolition. That's number 4 on the Braxton Craven land. RFP is going to be posted anytime now, but we did do some work this summer because we realized we needed to do that with the state. We had to get the state to approve for us to tear that building down. So we do have that approval. It took us a lot this summer, and we had a lot of help from our legislators there, so I want to give credit to that. We were getting ready to sign a contract with a consulting group to do the student assignment study. But here's what I want to say about that. The student assignment study has come up in the last 2 months, that we need to do that before we do anything. So maybe I wasn't clear enough when we did phase 1. And if I wasn't, then I'll own it. But the first time the student assignment study ever came up to me as needed to be done before we did anything else was December. Never heard that in any of these discussions. The student assignment plan was for, if you look at the bottom of that, look down at the bottom. It says the work with phase 1 of this plan will help with identification of components for phase 2 with regard to our school system's future facility needs. So the student assignment plan was for determining where schools 33, 34, 35 go. Phase 1 was really about our existing schools. Scroll down there a little bit. the first three items. Those are existing schools, and two of them need to be replaced sooner than later. And then the next on item three, those need to be renovated sooner or later, because quite frankly, if they're not renovated in the next 15 years, you'll be replacing all three of those. So, or in tough spot. And I'm not a facility expert, but I do pay attention to what's going on with facilities. I do listen to staff. So, I guess the update today, really, and I'll answer any questions you have, Mr. Cook. I know you've got questions of me. But I want to give an update, because when I look through there, scroll, see if you get all the numbers. Can you scroll up to? Who's got the scroll? Okay, well, it won't let you do all of them. So go back down, sorry.
Sorry, when he says that.
So, what have we done? What have we done with phase one? We found land for Liberty. We're doing the environmental study right now. We've got a contract to be in check. We've not found land for Ramlin High School. We've been looking, and we've been looking. Scroll down, we're ready to demolish Braxton Craven. We're getting ready to put an RFP out to see who would do that. We're close to getting that out. And then we're gonna go down to 5. We just about got a contract ready with a company to do the student assignment. So, one of the things that has been a little curious to me is, I'm not sure everybody understands what student assignment study is. But we're not gonna do a student assignment and call everybody the next day and tell them you're going to a different school. That's probably a 1.5-year process. And every time I've been asked about that, I've said that. So, if we get going, there's a good chance the student assignment process could be in place by 26, 27. But some of the impact of that probably won't really be felt till for a couple of years later, because you might have some, you may, and the board can make some decisions about what grandfathering might allow. I mean, are you gonna take a third grader that's been in Southmont all this time? Are you gonna send them to Farmer for grades 4 and 5? I don't know. And you have to look at that. So, so I missed a piece, Mr. Cook. I missed a piece here when I was going through this as well.
Well, you know, when you were talking, I know we had some conversation, the three of us. You know, we had a meeting, the new new county manager come on board. And I think he had a lot of questions because he was new at it. And maybe to the point, it was a little different because I felt like we were used to going to the commissioners, like, we always seem to go straight to them, you know, basically. You would talk to Darrell or David Allen or any of them, and then that kind of seemed to put a little bit of tension on the way they did business, and maybe rightfully so, because I guess some ways if I think about that, it would be like me speaking, or you, or anybody here that's going out, maybe speaking, well, Doc, we're gonna do this, speaking for Dr. Gainey. Maybe, I get that, and maybe that wasn't, but that's just the way it had been ever since I've been on this board. But I get that. But the meeting, I think, and I wrote these things down, was in November that really, we felt like it was going south. I mean, we just felt like we didn't know what to do, whether it was gonna be money there, what they wanted us to do.
Who was in the
So,
meeting?
huh?
The November meeting?
Well, I'm gonna tell you about one real quick. Can I, just real quickly, I know,
You want me to speak to that?
do you wanna, well, you know, the land, you did the appraisal, but I was just speaking, you remember when they wanted you to do appraisal, when our land was picked out for Liberty, was actually a better site than, RCC had already somehow got their approval for their land and,
But
the
the
site,
land-
you know, but we were asked to do a survey and we negotiated on the price, and actually, I thought the board did a good job. Did you, Doctor? I mean,
I did.
I
So,
thought we worked hard, and you explain that, then we'll go to that meeting.
there's a couple of things that happened in the fall. Number one, we had teacher year banquet. I see this now, Andre. You said September 3rd it was. On September 3rd, we had a piece of land, we presented it. Something happened, there was a lot of confusion about it. They knew I was not gonna be at the meeting, did not go because I'd be a teacher year banquet. So anyway, so that's how I wound up going back to the October 7th commissioner meeting, and I presented it then. And that night I was charged with, they were fine, but you need to get the land appraised.
So you were going to talk to the commissioners on September 3rd?
No, I was not, because I had teacher year banquet.
No, I'm saying that's what was scheduled, not knowing
But
about.
they went ahead with it. I sent the information, they went ahead with it without me there, and they knew that.
What
knew
did they go ahead with, though? I mean,
or
what
whether
did
to approve it or not.
approve the purchase of the land for
And it
Liberty?
didn't happen,
Okay.
because there was some confusion. So anyway, so we were back to October 7th. I will also tell you this. So on September 27th, the day we had school canceled for the hurricane, y'all remember that? I went to a meeting with the chair, the vice chair, the county manager, county finance officer. Marty went with, Dale went with me, and I went, and it was the county government building. Ashburn City Schools was there as well. And that meeting was the first time I heard there was a funding concerns. Okay? September 27th. Dale was with me, and like I say, Marty and Dale were there. So then we go to October 7th, and we bring the land back for Liberty. And then we had a meeting on the 6th of November, and it was the vice chair and chair of the board, vice chair and chair of the commissioners, county manager, county finance officer, and I think he's the assistant county manager, William Johnson. And so here's the piece, and we had talked a little bit about it, board members had, I know, so knowing that there was a possible funding issue or concerns about what the county could afford, at that meeting, we went through that meeting, about halfway through it, I said, well, can we try something else? And at that point, we proposed renovate 2 of the regional high schools, not build a new Randall High School. What about if you can't afford, I don't think you can build a high school for much less than $90 million now. And I don't think you can build an elementary school for much less than 50. So I've been operating with this idea of 140 for those 2 schools, those 2 new schools. So in that particular meeting, I threw out on the table, and I'm not speaking for Mr. Cook and Ms. Farlow, but I do believe y'all knew that was coming, because we had talked about that as a group at some point, have we not? Well, what about if we can't do all that? Well, for $140 million, we could renovate all 4 regional high schools. What if we do 2 and 2? And the idea was about $35 million per high school. And that changes that a little bit. Scroll back down, Sheena. That grabs, and that would grab 2 and 3, and that would leave Liberty. We just sit on that land for a little while. Even though I'm not coming off that Liberty Elementary needs to be replaced. And I'm not coming off that something needs to be done around my high school. And I hope the communities are hearing me when I say I'm not coming off that Eastern Randolph, Southwest Randolph, and Trinity High School need to be renovated. Because if we don't do something on 1 through 3, all of those schools are going to have to be replaced in the next 15 years. So whatever the dollar figure is now, it's going to get worse. I will not come off that, because I go to those schools, I sit in the communities, I hear what they say, and I know they're excited about this. And Dale, Larry, you and I know, we spent $30,000 on an elevator motor alone at Liberty Elementary School. Not the shaft, not the cart, not anything else. The motor alone. Do you remember that, Larry? And that was 5 years ago. Okay? So, I say this to you because that day I said, well, Dale and I talked about, what do you do at Randall? And I hope, I'm going to say this to you. I said this years ago. No one in any of our communities has ever complained to me about wood bleachers east of Randolph. We replaced them. No one ever complained about the state of the Southwest. We saved our money, we replaced it. No one ever complained at Trinity High School about wood bleachers on the desert side. We replaced them. Now, they didn't complain, but they said thank you. No one ever complained to me about the Braxton Craven setup that was temporary in 1996 and went on for 24 years. but they said thank you for their new school. No one's complaining about these schools. That doesn't mean they don't need them. That's the beauty of this county. I mean, that's the beauty of this county. You go into Randall High School, not being critical, but you don't want to go into Randall High School to a basketball game in the middle of the winter when it's unusually warm outside. You might as well go in in t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops, because when you come out, you'll be soaking wet, it's hot in there. You'll see a great event. And if you run just like, you really don't want to go into Eastern or Southwestern Trinity either, for that matter. I watched it when, I love the middle school tournament, but watching them maneuver one entrance into the Trinity High School gym was quite interesting. But they know how to do it. No one complains about any of this. But anyways, those three, so that night, Dale and I talked, or that afternoon, prior to that, Dale and I talked about, could we build Randleman up a level? Could we go up a level? You know, the classroom building is quite interesting in itself at Randleman High School. Instead of looking for land, we can't build anything more permanent there because impervious soil. But can we put another floor on that building, redo that building, and redo everything there? And that was just an idea. We're just throwing it out there, Mr. Cook, Ms. Farlow. I'm not speaking, but that was an idea. If we've got a funding issue, then we could knock out item 2 and 3 with the same amount of money we could do 1 and 2. And so we were told to stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. That's what we've done. We've been looking for land.
And that's exactly what we were told. I mean, well, if you can't do this, what about this? I mean, he did a great job at it. I mean, we're sitting there and offered them, and if you remember, that's pretty much when, 2 or 3 meetings before, we were told way back at that first meeting, find some land. We were told, find the land. Remember that? Find the land. So, that's why you get a realtor and you start finding the land, then when things started going the other way. But at this particular meeting's the meeting when I think I began to wonder, where are we really going with this? I mean, is anything?
Well, it was the opposite from the first meeting.
Yeah, it was just
It was
totally
very
opposite.
Optimistic at the first meeting.
Yeah, and
Go
then
get
when he
land,
offered
go build
the
the schools. And
the
then the second
schools.
one was like, we're not gonna give y'all money. You
Yeah.
can't have any money.
I
There's
felt
no
like
money.
we weren't gonna get money here at this
And
meeting.
then we're like, okay, now what
And
do we
then it
do?
was like,
15 years, I think that's what
when
it
he
was.
offered,
We can have
let's
something
look at
15
these other
years.
schools, what can we do? Well, then Mr. Massey, said, well, if we spend this money on these other schools,
We
you're
would have to wait
talking
15
years
15.
before you could do anything
Before we can have
like
any.
build schools to the original schools.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And
And,
we'd never
We're
heard
like,
that
we can't
before
wait
either.
15 years.
but at 140 million though, right?
Well, you're not gonna build, this county has a reputation of not, I watched buildings be built around, and I'm not being critical of other places, but what they built Wheatmore High School or Providence Grove High School and what they got was, it was somebody.
It was confusing on that day.
Did he make that statement based on thinking 140 million for those 2 schools, and then 15 years out before they can do anything else?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because they have to pay some things
That's
off.
right, and that's fine.
But see, Mr. Cutler.
But they didn't wanna go with that idea though.
The day that was approved,
They didn't wanna do the redoing.
They don't want to do the
They
renovations.
wanted to stick, we were told to stick to the original plan. And
well,
that-
the idea, I remember saying, it is my hope we could do Liberty and Randleman at the same time. And the reason for that was that we could push those 3 high schools renovations up instead of continuing to talk about them, because quite frankly,
We've been talking about
that
it
conversation's been going on well for
for a
my
long
time.
time.
Yeah.
It's been going on for 14 years.
So I can remember, my hope was to do 1 and 2 at the same time, and I don't control the money, and I don't make those decisions, but I'll go back to something I've said ever since I've been here. If I'm not the number 1 cheerleader for this school system, somebody else knows, you got the wrong person in this seat. And I'm very proud and I'm very appreciative of, it's hard, I get it, and it's hard for, the other 4 to sit there and look at 2 brand new high schools with 2 gyms. I get that, and I get gyms and academics, where they mix, they do mix. And somebody can argue me down, but you don't build schools now like you built them back when those schools were built. But I'm hoping in a renovation that those 3 schools will wind up with an additional gym so we can not be possibly 4 teams use them in the winter, you know, practice nights and some different things. But my whole, you know, I don't know that anybody, I think the thing that we've been running down a road, and I'm not sure what road we're on now. And that's probably gonna offend some people by me making that comment. But
Well, can I
I don't
join
think
in with you?
there's-
I'm gonna make a comment. I don't want you to go down that road by yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna go with you. The next morning, after the meeting on November the, 6th? I guess, the one we're talking about now where you threw that option out, okay?
November 6th.
I received a call and, basically said, well, you need to stick to your plan, go ahead, you know, you may have to, if you do Rattling first or whatever, you know, we may have to work around. Maybe we could, I think I received a call, or I made the call to ask the question, but somewhere it come up in the conversation. We're gonna build them schools, we're gonna build that school, we're gonna build them schools. You guys need to find the land. And, if we do maybe one, if we do one at a time, if we did Rattling, yeah, this is where this come in at. Maybe then we could have enough money, you know, you talk about renovating some of the old schools, remember I told you? Maybe we'd have enough money to throw some money toward, and I told you, Eastern Randolph to, do some work there, the track, tennis courts, do something there. Maybe 500, whatever I can't remember the figure, but maybe we could work that out at the same time. And I made the statement, I said to the person that called me, I said, you gotta understand, there's 4 more people with a voice. And I'm not sure, and I mean this in all due respect, that all of you are on the same page. And I said, it's just like our board. I'm careful what I say because I was really beginning to get the feeling, if you don't have the money, if it's not an option, you know, you got us to this point, okay? Somebody's got to back up, and, I mean, I'm at the point now, I'm clueless on what we do, where we go, what's smart. I mean, I feel like sitting back and saying, you know what? You've almost taken us down a road that kind of makes us look bad in some communities. That's why I was strong in asking Dr. Gainey today to put this out. Let's be transparent and be honest and lay it on the table, because that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, Sharon, myself, Dr. Gainey, we were there, and you know what? We're just telling it like it is. I mean, if you don't have a plan, or you don't want us to spend the money, what do you want us to do? Because the last thing I want to see, and this county deserves better, because I was on this board, Providence Grove and Wheatmore, when we promised those other high schools, we're gonna do something, we're gonna take care of you. And you know what, we're going right down that road. Promise means something where I come from. I don't wanna be sitting here, or I won't be sitting here, but well, I might, somewhere 24 years later, it's the same thing that happened in Braxton Craven. And here we are, nothing's happened. And we hadn't built a school, we haven't done anything. I mean, I don't know.
In the last 2 weeks, I've been asked point blank at a very positive event by a member of each community in 2 of those 3 high schools. They're so excited about the possibility on that item number 3. Asked, you know, the reference of getting the renovations. So it's out there, and, you know, what I would also wanted you to know is, you know, talk about, you know, what do I share with the board? So what I can tell you is of phase 1, we, not completely official, have the land at Liberty, because if something comes back on our environmental assessment, then we will not move forward. We have, we're, like I say, about ready to sign on with a group to do the student assignment study, and we're getting soon, we're very excited to get an RFP out with the demolition of Braxton Craven School. And there is money set aside. Back on June 3rd, before, I think we had a board meeting that night, I want you to remember, I went to the commissioner meeting that afternoon, and they approved $50,000 for the student assignment study and $500,000 for demolition of Braxton Craven. That was not done the same night as I took the land in there for Liberty. So, you know, I don't know. I think I understand. I have a lot of respect for the management of the debt here. I saw that early on when I got here. Pretty proud of what we did with Trinity Middle. We returned $727,000 from what we had to spend on that. I don't know if you remember that dollar figure. Dale, you remember it was $727,000 we turned back in after that project was done. So I'm just, at this point, board members, what we're gonna focus on, my staff and I, we're gonna focus on student assignment study. We're gonna focus on doing the RFP for Braxton Craven and what that comes from. What comes out of that, that's the only thing we know to do on this at this point. And unless there's any more direction from, I don't know what else direction y'all can give me or I can give you. I can't, it doesn't even sound right for a superintendent to say give direction to the board, but I don't know what else you can give me. We've fleshed this out, and I think part of what, I'm speaking for our chair, but Mr. Cook, I think part of his reason for putting this on here, and want me to put this on here and talk about it tonight, is I can tell you the number of times that this has been in the media is a lot. So I take that back. Of the 4 regional high schools, I've had specific conversations in the last 2 weeks at every one of those high schools. One was in the lobby, one was in the gym by the home stands, one was by the scores table at another high school. I remember who it is and where it was and who it was. And these are people who are committed to our school system, in my opinion, and 2 of them are they're grandparents.
Now, you know,
So
real quickly on the random one, like Dale, when I know the realtor was led to believe the critical water, that there's a way that counties can swap land. And so that's what we were told, you could swap land. Then when Smith Senate architects got involved, they're the ones that actually found out, of course, like I said, we hadn't talked to, most of the time it was through their chair that he said, we can work it out, basically. And as far as your land swap, but then Smith Senate opened it up, and that's when we heard about it our work session with commissioners, that basically they're saying no. So they were gonna check it out, the next morning, the next day, and find out if you could do that. And so basically, in a month, you really hadn't heard a whole lot. And so I called our realtor this morning just to double check if you heard anything lately, just so I'd have the most up to date. And well, they're working on it with the state. They're still checking on it. He actually sent me a voicemail that he had. But we're not sure yet, but we still haven't given up hope. There's hope out there. But, I'm thinking on that, I didn't realize all that with the watershed, and all that, like you're so tied up in Randleman, but this has got me to thinking, if I had a nice piece of land in Randleman and I'm paying crazy taxes, but I couldn't use but just a small piece of it, I'd be one upset taxpayer right
Was
now.
it 10 or 20%?
I mean,
6%.
you can't use but just 30% of.
6% of.
6% of that 90
Yeah,
acres.
I'd be hot over that, paying this high.
So,
The whole thing I see, what you're telling us we're hearing from the county, go with our plan. Okay, it's our plan. It's our plan, it's not their plan.
exactly.
It's not their plan. And you know yourself, Dr. Kennedy, for 10 years, I've told you, Liberty's gonna need a new school. When I first come on this board, I went and I visited every school. And yes, Liberty does need a new school. I've talked to teachers at Randall. They need a new school. With Liberty, we look at it, we promise all this growth. You go by the mega site over there, it's growing by leaps and bounds. We haven't seen the growth in Liberty that everybody's predicted yet. And who knows?
You may not.
Yeah, you may not, who knows what'll happen. But then, again, here is a mess, what started 14 years ago, and nobody has done a thing about it. And I'm just as blamed as anybody else, because I've sat here for 12 years, which I didn't know about all this, promises what was made 14 years ago. And if it's our plan, why cannot we deviate our plan
I agree.
and do these renovations we've been promising for 14 years? Because who's catching the slack for it? Is the county commissioners catching the slack? No, it's the people sitting up here.
That's why
in
you
your
need to be
seat.
transparent, because
And
people
I
don't
mean,
realize
they
that.
keep telling you it's our plan, go with your plan. All right, it's our plan. We're gonna change our plan.
Agree.
I mean, that's all that's got to be done, and whether, if they don't fall in line, I mean, I deal with the county on a different level than this board also. I've been flip-flopped on plenty of things. It's time for us to put it back on them. I
The
mean,
9-year plan worked pretty dang well.
yeah, oh, it worked good when it's saving them money, it's all great, but when they gotta spend a little bit of money, but they'll throw it somewhere else in a heartbeat and don't even, you know, our school system's supposed to be the pride of the county. Then they tell you one thing, then they tell you 30 days later something different. That's a bunch of BS.
Dr. Gainey, are we on the hook for the Liberty land right now?
Right now, there is an out, we're not on the hook. We could, there's a little out. Obviously, that out doesn't have any cost to it. If the land doesn't check out, the environmental studies going on right now. So if something comes back, you know, and the other thing about that, and what's confusing to me, it's funny you asked that, Mr. Cover. What's confusing to me is the discussion about the land. We found, you know, just anybody listening, we found something we really liked for Randall High School. I mean, I tell you, first time I saw it, I could see the Randall building. I could see it sitting on that land. I mean, the way it was, the place, the land was completely cleared, to be honest. And what's troubling me is we possibly have some land acquired for Liberty, you know, the finality of it. We possibly have that. But what's troublesome to me is, what about the cost of building on it? You know, that's where, if we buy the land, say the Randall land that we're looking at checks out. We're gonna have 2 pieces of land, and how long we're gonna have, I don't know. But, yeah, there's not that much of a, when you say that, Mr. Cover, there's a small hook. I also wanna I wanna just say this, 2 things as anybody listening. Number one, when I was asked about, particularly the project at Braxton Craven, when we did Trinity Middle, and when we redid the stadium at Southwest High. I remember, because they had a lot of notoriety, you know, the bleachers at Trinity didn't grab the board did the bleachers register, but, you know, I was asked, what do you want to say? I want to say thank you to those 2 communities. Because no one ever complained about Southwest High, and I remember the first month I was superintendent here, we had a major washout in front of the home stands at Southwest High. Y'all remember that? That's why that wall's there right now, that retaining wall. And, you know, again, Braxton Craven was 1996, and it went on for 24 years. It was a temporary solution. And I think the school system spent $400,000 to get it to go for, 24 years. For the record, anybody listening, we spent $185,000 to make Randall 5th grade academy go, and $410,000 for UR Ridge. So we're barely even over $1 million in 3 projects, one of which I wasn't involved in, which was getting Braxton Craven for the 6th grade center. That was, I think, $400,000. So I think this school system, well before my time, has really used resources as carefully as they could. But I also want to remind people this. I said this. Phase 1 was about our current schools, getting our current schools where we needed them to get, particularly those right there, those, what is it, 5? Because when we went to building new schools, phase 2 was gonna be that. And phase 2, in my mind, probably was going to the northwest corner for a long time before it came back. And if you ride through the Archdale Trinity area right now, you'd be hard pressed not to think that when school 33, 34, 35 are built, it won't be up there. And if you look at it long enough and you say, where's, I get Wheatmore High School's not completely full, it's 62%, I think, last time. It won't take long, because right down Tabernacle Church Road, and look at all that land's been cleared. I don't know what they're doing with it, but it didn't get cleared just to be cleared, I don't think. And look at all the houses that are being built in the Archdale Trinity Zone. So, I do, I can only bring my recommendations.
I understand that.
But I will tell you, I never heard do the student assignment study first before you did anything else until December. If I'd heard that, because it wasn't part of, student assignment study has nothing to do with those.
And that's what we need to address.
It has
Yeah,
nothing
that's what
to
we
do
need
with
to
those
address.
5 schools.
That's it.
Because to your point, Mr. Horribles, has there been any growth in Liberty? No.
And
But
the county commissioner
No,
sat
I'll
down
tell
here
you.
last month, and I asked them myself, can you tell me any projected growth? And
And
neither
I'll
one
tell
of them
you,
could say
If
yes.
anything, Liberty has restructured because of the Toyota plant with the way people are even, like, transportation wise. Because areas where it would take 20 minutes to get to Providence Grove are now 30 minutes because roads are cut off. So there's a lot of reconstructing that needs to be looked at, I think, for potentially maybe sending kids the other way. If anything, if we're gonna look at it that way, we've gotta look at it from like the big picture wise.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think as a board, just like Tracy was saying, this is our plan that we need to present to them. And our plan should be to address these 4 high schools first, by far.
That's me, I mean, if this student
If we-
reconstruction comes back and say, yeah, you need 33, 34, and 35, no, this needs to be took care of first.
If they're saying $140 million, and then 15 years from that, if you put $30 million toward each of those high schools, and have the remaining balance toward Liberty, or renovate Liberty, which is at 69% capacity, which is not a, it's not a need right now, and we do not know what a Toyota plant is going to be doing. We need to make sure that we take care of this, have the study done, and then after, take the results of the study and say, hey, this is our long-term growth, this is where we'll need more schools later. And I know that's what you're thinking, I know it is. But we've got these 4 high schools, we need to do something now.
See, Todd, though, I'm thinking, and back when we first started talking about, I think everybody, and you knew Liberty was an old school, okay? You know that. And in fact, I think sometime when you've got something new coming in, like the mega site, I was thinking, well, if you can't do something at Eastern, maybe you need to do something on that end of the county, the nice elementary. But now that I've sat back and think about it, I mean, people's telling me, and I haven't been there, it's like the mega site's a city in itself. I mean, is everything gonna be like
Isolated
built
there.
right there,
Yes.
isolated?
Are they
They
gonna
got
have
their own
own
little
school? Are they gonna
compounds,
have their
and
own
you know
lane?
what? They may not even pay Liberty a bit of attention.
Liberty
I
had
don't
showed
know.
me that they're interested.
I
That's
don't know
what I
if
was
they want
gonna
that
say.
at Liberty.
They
I
don't.
mean,
That's
Their
it.
infrastructure can't handle growth.
No.
County commissioners just sat down here last month and said that.
and
They're
they,
not pushing, the county commissioner talked something about helping with their infrastructure. But you can't have growth if you ain't got the infrastructure to handle.
But let me ask you a question. This is what I should probably ask it now, but who's to say, yes, we caught up, we got land close to the mega site. Who's to say 3 years from now, we still got land at that mega site and it's not worth what
Not
we
worth
thought
what
it
you
was?
paid.
It's not, I'll be honest with you, you look at the inflation on the property over there, and everybody's inflated the value because they thought,
Yes.
they're thinking all this growth is coming.
Yes.
like you say, 3 years down the road when that growth ain't coming, you're gonna see them land prices go down. I mean, it's
Toyota
happened,
has slowed up on
Liberty's had a
their-
mega site over there before, and it never grew nothing. It wasn't as big, but it never grew nothing.
We've had these needs at these high schools for years. It's got to be addressed.
You know, Toyota, and I've heard, I can't, they've slowed up on some of their building. That's what I was told, like maybe kind of,
Because they're.
you heard that wait and see, kind of like what's coming next, I mean. And, I don't think our commissioners, and anytime you promise incentives and do deals like that, you know how that works.
Well,
I don't think
we
they got
thought
as much
they were
money
just
out of it
gonna
they
cut our
thought.
nose off either.
So far.
They ain't collected any money
Right.
from them, they
So
even
we
said
want
that. They ain't
But
collected
that's
nothing.
their thing. That's their thing.
Yeah,
what
that's
they
their
have to
thing.
do.
This is our thing.
This is our thing. This is what we need to present as part of the school system.
But I think we need.
So we need to step back and punt, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think we need to address three. Yeah, I mean, you know, you got one, 2, 3, I mean, three might need to go to one.
Random needs to be part of 3. For renovations.
That's what I'm saying, it might be instead of 1, 2, 3, and then 3 needs to go to 1, and then Random stays at 2. and
So
Liberty
you don't
goes
think
to
a
1.
new school for Randall, and you think renovations?
No, numbers don't support it.
I think it would have to weigh a little bit though on, like the architects, like if you I think you'd have to look, after, we had a meeting with Smith Senate too. And, basically, they run into the deal with Asheboro, you know, how, and I think we'd have to look at this too. It's very important because, I asked the lady, I said, tell me how did you go that much over? And she went, oh, it was terrible. Basically, she said, I mean, Asheboro got a little upset with him, but we had a great relationship working with them. The reason I think Asheboro had a problem is because they created one by what they had to work with. I mean, she said $18 million you couldn't see. It was in walls, underground. It was a mess where you had to combine a 48 model, a 55 model, and piece it all together into one, you know, and it was a bear. So my only issue with, especially Randall, and I think the others would be easier maybe less to do, but I think you'd probably have to, it'd have to be cost effective, I would think, wouldn't you? I mean, to a point. You don't wanna have to spend $60 million on Randall and could build a new one for 90 or 80.
The cost effectiveness, like you said, you won't know till you knock a
You
wall
won't know,
down.
you won't know.
So that's the issue you get in there.
The other piece we have to know is we don't even know what universe of spending we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, we've operated with 140, not that I mean, that's just a estimate of, if you build an elementary, you build a high school, you're probably gonna spend, if you did 1 and 2, you're probably gonna spend about 90 and 50, I would think, and with everything going on now. So we don't, at this point, board members, I couldn't even tell you, that's why, when we threw that on the table that day of.
But you did say that day, we could do maybe do two at a time
Yeah.
and skip 3 years.
Give 'em a
Basically,
little
he
bit of
did
time.
space it out, he had a
Yeah,
timeline.
not just do, or give some time and then hit the other ones. Now, I believe that something's gotta be done at Liberty Elementary. I do believe that. I mean, we're gonna have to do something there. But do you renovate that one? I mean, we don't know the university of spending, and I don't know if university is the right way. We don't know what it is. And, so I don't doubt you're confused, because quite frankly, I'm confused.
I mean,
Because we've like I said, we getting the land purchased has been our challenge, but, till we know that, until they can tell us that, I don't know what else we can do. We know what we can do with the student assignment study. We have $50,000 to do that. That's what was approved at the public meeting. And we have $500,000 for demolition of Braxton Craven, and that's already been approved. I don't know if it winds up, and in full transparency to the board. Full transparency, I woke up in the middle of the night in the summer, one, I guess it was a June night, woke up and I thought, whoa, Stephen, I don't know if you have the authority to take that building down without talking to state officials. That's when we started doing our research, and it took us a while to get that, and that's fine. The state did their work, and they needed to, and we had, and credit, our legislators helped us too, but it was probably early August, Dale, when we finally got somewhere around there. It was later this summer, so somebody can say, well, Stephen, why didn't you already take a number action to Craven? Well, then I was hoping maybe if we could get somebody, we could maybe do it during the summertime, but looks like we're gonna do it whenever someone's available with the workload people have now when we do the RFP. But that was an overlook of ours. That was oversight of mine, not staff's done wonderful work. But like I said, I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I thought, you know what, you might have to clear something with the state first. And it turned out we did. And Dale did a great job, Larry, they'll work through that, and we're good. But now it's getting it down. But beyond those two, and that's why it's a one pager, we have land for Liberty Elementary. Dale's been working with the realtor, and I've been on a couple trips, looked for land for Animal High School. We do not have land for Animal High School. We have selected an architect. It was approved on December 9 at the board meeting. And we're close to lining up a consulting group and for student assignment study and the RFP. I think the RFP will go pretty quick. I'll be surprised. Now, when somebody gets scheduled, I don't know.
Is everything gonna be demolished there?
Yeah, no, we're not taking the gym down, everything but the gym. And we've got to be careful because that parking lot is the Trinity High School parking lot for football, soccer. So we've got to be careful with that and make sure we don't do anything to damage that. But until we learn more about what we can spend, I don't know what road we're riding on.
And there's no more land. That's the bad thing.
That's one thing I'm afraid about with Randleman is finding something within the city limits.
You're not gonna find it.
You won't find
It's
anything
not
else.
there.
For the water and sewer problem, having to run something so far.
Well, and again, I'm going to go back to something I said. It's a risk to buy land now and it's a risk not to buy land. And that is more aligned to what's phase 2 of this plan. I mean, you can't just decide, oh, we need a school 33. You might better have some land banked. Luckily, we had a nice piece of land for Trinity Middle, and it was right, it was a good location. We own one other piece of land over at Wheatmore High School that was bought at the time for, I think, a middle school, Mr. Cook, is that right? Potential middle school one day. And as much as you say you don't want to build something there, who knows if all that explodes over there, we might not need another middle school over there. I don't know. I'm not announcing that. For anybody listening, I want to hear that tomorrow, that Yankee just declared we're going to build a middle school beside Wheatmore High School, but we do have a piece of land. And it was, my understanding, was bought for that purpose.
Wouldn't the consulting group data show us where we need to start looking?
Yeah, they'll study, that's what they will do.
Yeah.
That's what they will do. They will help us look at one of the things, Mr. Lanier, you and I talked about farmer. Can we use farmer more than we're using? And maybe take some of the heat off of Southmont, but you're exactly right. It'll look for the population nodes and it'll start projecting. You're gonna need a school in this area. That's what these guys do. They've been doing it since the 90s. These companies are doing it.
I think,
But
you've had that growth.
The bank, if you spent the money to buy the land if they wanted to, they could settle it and do the other, start with the other. I mean, there's options.
I mean, you got the growth up at the northern end, but I believe you're gonna see, and Philip probably can agree with me, that you're gonna start seeing people move out throughout the whole county. Because you go up the upper end and somebody wanting to build a house and it's costing them $40,000 to buy an acre of land to build a house. Land down in New Hope, which is out in the middle of nowhere, in the last 4 years where land was going for $3,000 an acre, it's selling for $10,000 an acre now. So you're seeing people why do I want to buy acre of land for 40,000 when I can go somewhere else and buy 5 or 6 acres?
Now, that's
For the same
That may
price.
help that area, sure enough.
Cause I know people who's selling land out there and they're getting in bidding wars.
Well, again, and.
It's gonna spread through the county. I mean, you're gonna have your concentrations, but you look, it's gonna spread out, because some people are a little more frugal with their money than others.
We've got to give Dr. Gainey some direction of, you know, what we're gonna do, or what he needs to talk to commissioners about, and then use that, data to further plan out long-term planning.
Would we need to just say, how much money are you guys giving us?
Well, what bothers
I mean,
me about the whole
at the end of the
situation is the 4 county commissioners that's been there a while are not the ones that requested the study, if I understand right, in December. It was the new one that asked about a grant study, which is fine.
I started hearing it in December.
Well, I don't know who, but that's the one I heard it from.
He was saying-
And, you know, and that's, I'm not faulting him, but I'm faulting the fact that the other 4 that sit there, worked with us, making promises, or telling us to look at different things, and yet now we're backtracking. And I don't like that. And it is what it is, but I don't like that.
Well, I thought, when Dr. Gainey and I talked about, have you guys been transparent, kind of, did it help? I mean, it pretty opened up a lot of eyes, yeah, this opened up eyes. It shows exactly it's been a lot of work put into it,
And a lot of back and
to
forth.
feel like on his end and our end, that here we still sit, and we really don't know where we're going.
Our hands are tied.
And,
I don't think they're tied, I just think we just need to present something, and then let the commissioners at that point say, okay, you got this much money.
But they've told us to proceed with some
but you,
things.
but you know,
We
like
can't
when you
get
tried
the
that,
money.
I think, honestly, I think we can, give it another 3 or 4 weeks to see what they say, if anything comes out of it. Where we at now? And then we're gonna have to hit that point, I don't think you're gonna hear anything.
We're going to push it, because they gonna tell you to
And
proceed,
then
but
we're
once you
gonna
get
have
to a
to
certain
have
point,
a
they gonna tell you to
meeting
stop.
that basically just, and maybe not put it all on him. Maybe we just need to have a meeting again and say, look, this is where we are. And just do it, this board, that board, face to face, and say, look, what do you guys, what do you want us to do? Because we gotta do something, and this is where we are, and we'll just do it as, like, together, what do you think? Like a joint meeting?
I think
I
that'd be
think
great.
that would
I
be
think
the
it'd
way
be
to do
good
it.
for us to get together with them.
Yeah, I mean, get together and just,
I mean, they control the purse string.
Yeah.
The purse string.
we need a ring, I can set one up.
And then that way we can have.
Bring the
Bring
the belts out.
Take your belts out.
Well, I do think that we need to get some kind of idea. of
Yeah, we'll
what
just
is
get, and
our-
work it out as a team.
What is our spending, what can it be?
Well, we've gotta do it because we've told the public, and the public's waiting on us to make a decision and move forward with something.
But I do want one thing to understand, if
Yeah,
anybody's
right.
listening to this, okay? This is, from the school system's end, this is what we owe the public to have the conversation. We owe it to this board to be transparent. But it has nothing, this is business. It's a business. It has nothing to do with our budget that we go to every year with our county commissioners. That's what protects our employees, our school system. That's also a big business, and that hits a lot of families. And, that's close to here too. And, don't let what happens on one end, like if we don't agree or we're asking questions, should not have any effect on the other business.
I don't think it will, but, yeah, I understand you saying that.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, that's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
All right, that's what I have for you.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have.